versus Knitting.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to the next episode of Man versus Knitting. I invite you to subscribe so you can be notified when great content like this happens. I hope you think it is. I'm bringing to you for the first episode of history in a long time. It's been a little bit of a minute, but I've been busy. There was an entire yarn crawl that happened in North Texas, which I'll tell you more about later on in the My Story segment. But on that yarn crawl, I was able to meet a great guy, Mr. Hunter Young, and he, along with his wife, have a yarn shop there in Fort Worth, Texas, which is in sort of central North Texas, called West 7th Wool. And I met him there at the shop. So the angle and the lighting and the sound is a little different than you're used to. And I apologize about that, but we did the best we could with what we had. And without further ado, I'd like to bring you Hunter Young with West 7th Wool. Hi, everybody, and welcome to the next episode of Man vs. Knitting. And we have our next history interview with my good friend, Hunter Young.
Hello.
From West 7th Wool, which you'll know about because I put it all over Instagram and on the Man vs. Knitting page on Facebook. So you guys are going to get this interview with him to understand it because he is one of the owners of West 7th Wool. And he knits.
I do.
Which, you know, this is what this channel is all about. So, anyway, Hunter, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, it's exciting because he has a YouTube channel.
Yes.
What's it called?
It is West 7th Wool Podcast.
Yeah, so I'll make sure it's in the show notes so that you guys can link to that, and hopefully you'll subscribe to theirs as well, because, as they say, it's a podcast about their yarn shop in Fort Worth, Texas.
That's right, West 7th Wool.
So tell me a little bit about how West 7th Wool started.
Okay, so there was a yarn shop on Camp Bowie, which is an adjacent road to us. I don't know if you saw it on your way in. It was the Red Brick Road. You might not have driven past it. And there used to be a yarn shop on Camp Bowie called Mad Tosh, which was the storefront shop for Madeline Tosh yarn.
I did not even know they had a storefront.
They did. Because they dye their yarn right here in Fort Worth, Texas, they decided, hey, let's go ahead and have a yarn shop here. But then suddenly a few years ago, back in December, they suddenly announced that they were going to go ahead and close the shop, I guess refocus on the yarn side. And my wife was a regular at that shop. So she was upset, all her friends were upset, and she comes home, and we were kind of looking for a small business opportunity at the time anyway. She looks at me and she says, how do you feel about us opening up a yarn shop? And I thought about it. I was like, okay, we can look into the numbers and then take it into consideration. We can think about this. And sure enough, about 5 months later, we opened the shop.
Wow, that's fast.
Yeah.
But timing is everything. So
Absolutely. And the good thing about it was there was this already established community of knitters who had recently lost their local yarn shop. So they were happy we were here. We were happy we were here. And it just kind of took off.
Wow. That's awesome. So, question, were you knitting prior to that conversation about, do you want to open up a wool shop?
No.
Oh, really?
No, I learned to knit around the same time we opened up the shop, but I definitely very much wanted to learn how to knit once that happened, because I did not want to be the owner that didn't know what was going on or how to do anything or how to help people, most importantly.
Right.
So yeah, I was all in once we opened the shop, and just took right after it. I think it's great.
It is great. It's a great hobby, and that's the whole purpose of my channel, is to try to get more guys to knit. And you guys know that, so I'm just preaching to the choir. But so what is one of your favorite things to knit?
That would actually be socks. I knit a scarf, and I was like, I'm never probably going to wear this scarf. I knit a hat, and I decided
We live in Texas.
I live in Texas, yeah. Probably not going to wear this hat. What can I make that I would actually wear? And the answer was socks.
Ding, ding, ding.
So that was like the third thing I learned how to make, and it's just been off to the races ever since. Typically, I will knit a pair of socks, then I'll knit a sample for the shop, then I'll knit a pair of socks, and just kind of back and forth.
Yeah, he has a phrase that he uses to demonstrate his place in sock knitting.
Mm-hmm.
What is that?
Oh, you're putting me on the spot, which I'm blanking.
Sock Island.
Sock Island. Oh yeah, Sock Island. See, there's Sleeve Island and there's Sock Island, and Sock Island is a magical place. Sleeve Island is more like it's like Greenland or someplace where they like trick you to go there, and then it's like terrible. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, sleeves are not. I mean, they could be fun. To me, if there's shaping involved, it gives me a little bit more math to think about, and that always excites me when there's a calculation in knitting. So it does. Sleeves don't bother me that much. I've knit socks, but I've never gone to Sock Island. I've never been stranded there. I've never been, where I want to, but I know it's a magical place because they happen fast. So I have been knitting a bunch of scarves. I keep it in my car. I call it my car knitting. And so when I'm sitting at a train or a red light or traffic, I just can knit a row. And even if I just get one row done, I'm done. Well, I've knit 6 scarves in the last several years doing that. And finally I was like, no. And so anyway, kind of watching your podcast, I realized, you know what? I could be doing socks instead of scarves.
Yeah, the great thing about socks is besides the fact that, I have a ton of pairs that I always enjoy wearing, but it's incredibly portable. It can be fairly mindless depending on the pattern that you pick or whatever you plan on doing. So it's great for up at the shop.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can just kind of roam around, help customers while you have your knitting on. You can just kind of work and go at the same time. It's not like a heavy sweater where you kind of have to like set it aside. So that's good too. And then I also like how there's always more things to learn, between cuff down, toe up, different heels, different decreases or increases depending on which way you're going. Yeah, there's always new and interesting things to learn.
That's true. Yeah, socks don't have to be plain. There are plain socks, but they don't have to be that way. And like you said, there's many variations. So if you get stuck on Sock Island, let us know, because that's an important thing. Now, I know that you and your wife have had discussions on your own podcast about different needles. I remember when she did she did a whole bunch of different needles that she was going to knit on. But what is your favorite technique for knitting socks?
My favorite, type of needle or technique? I can go into both.
Type of needle.
Okay, type of needle first. I prefer the 9-inch circular. For example, I really like Xiaogu's. I just like how some 9-inch circulars can be polarizing. They're not for everybody. If you have hand pain, they'll probably exacerbate it. But if you don't and you enjoy it, I really like how you just keep going around and around and around. I will do magic loop, especially if it's a toe or a heel. I'll typically switch off to magic loop for that, but otherwise I'm on the 9-inch. I'm not a big fan of DPNs. I feel like I'm always kind of in my own way on DPNs. I prefer those two generally.
Okay. Yeah. DPNs aren't for everybody, but they have their place. I usually use DPNs mostly at the top of a hat. That's pretty much it.
Yeah, I'll either magic loop or DPN on top of a hat. The difference with the top of a hat, especially if it's a bulkier weight yarn, is it takes no time to do it. So it's so quick that it's like whatever, I'll just knock it out.
Right. Well, it's always getting less and less and less, and you get more and more excited because you're like, oh, I have 4 stitches. I only have 3 stitches. Speaking of hats, he brought some of his shop samples that he's knit.
Yes.
And if you would like to show them to us today.
Sure. I've made a variety of different things. This one is a bulky cable hat. This is made out of Malabrigo Rasta. And I thought it was cool. This is because I learned how to cable without a cable needle with this. Yeah. So there's
That's very important. So you can see his cables. It's a great chunky yarn.
It is.
And so this feels like it's got really good weight to it. That's a good job.
Yeah, we didn't carry Malabrigo Rasta at first, but we had enough people come in and inquire about it that finally we're like, okay, we'll bring in both Rasta and Mecca, and they've done very well. So you wouldn't think with the warmer climate that such a bulky yarn would do well, but it does okay. This was a very straightforward scarf. I made out of Woolfolk Huga, I believe.
Okay.
Yep. It's called Entwine Scarf. Um,
Entwine. I'll get the pattern. If it's an actual pattern, we'll make sure we have that in the show notes.
Absolutely. This is the Issa cow made with spin cycle.
Isn't that great?
Yeah, it was pretty cool color work. It was really straightforward. The ribbing was kind of annoying because it was knit two with one color, purl two with the other, but otherwise, once you get into the body, it's really fairly straightforward.
Yeah, but your floats, I'm going to be evil. So, of course, we all see this is our public side, right? That's beautiful. But if you're a real knitter, you get real excited when you turn it inside out. Because then you get to see, look at how even those floats are. I haven't seen this before now, and I'm telling you, that's good work. So, anyway, good job.
Thank you.
Because it's really hard for people to do color work.
Absolutely.
And get those so even. So,
And then
that was really good job.
Oh yeah, yeah, and really, full disclosure, I'm going to be honest. This was alternating yarn. I would knit, I believe, one row with one color, and then if I need the other color, I'd just slip it. And then when I got back around, I think either one row or two, I would switch color and then slip the opposite. So I cheated a little bit. And then this is Hieronymus Cow by Cecilia Campuchiaro.
Okay.
Also color work, but also fairly straightforward. You're just alternating with the yarn back and forth gray, back and forth black. It's it's 7 knit, 7 purl repeats, and then just increases and decreases on the end to make it kind of go sideways.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it gives it some motion, some neat motion to that. That's really nice. It feels, the yarn's great.
That is Woolfolk Far, which is our worsted weight.
Yeah, that's really nice.
Yeah, Woolfolk, they sent us a box of yarn one day. We didn't carry the yarn at the time, but it had a skein of most of their bases in there, and as soon as we got our hands on it, it was so soft. We were like, well played, Woolfolk. We brought it in.
You suckered us, okay.
Yeah. Finally, this is boy sweater made with Cascade 220 superwash. Funny story with this. We had a relative of ours was having a baby, and we didn't know what they were expecting, but this was our second child. Amy had knit the first child a baby blanket, so she said, okay, you're up. What do you want to knit this time? And I picked this sweater. One of our regulars was knitting one similar to that at the time. So I knit that sweater, I got done, I took it home, I blocked it, it's out on the mat, and Amy looks at it and she looks at me and she says, I know you made this for a family member of ours, but I would really like it as a shop sample. Can you knit another one, please? So I made that twice.
So this is the shop sample one, and you made the other one for the gift.
Yeah. The good news though is we did not know what they were expecting the first time around, so I went neutral. The second time around, we did know that they're expecting a little girl, so I knit the same sweater but cream.
See, sometimes it pays to do it a little bit later.
Yeah, exactly. But however, full disclosure, I was knitting furiously away at that thing. This I got done plenty of time to spare. The second one, I was knitting furiously. Last minute, it may have still been a little damp when they got it.
Oh my God, that's funny.
Yeah.
That's really, yeah, I had, my sister-in-law was pregnant, and she and I thought she was gonna have a boy. Everybody thought she was gonna have a girl. And so I started knitting a diaper cover, and I had this like browns and blacks and it was total boy colors. And I must have done the whole body, one leg, and was starting on the other leg when we found out she was having a girl. So I said, well,
yeah.
So they're gonna try again, and if they have a boy, well, I've already got that made. So
there we go. Yep.
That's funny. So what is, now that you've knit a variety of things, if it's not a sock, what would be another go-to project for you?
It would almost assuredly be a shop sample, and basically just whatever we need. I'll take on basically whatever. You know, I've done everything from sweaters to cowls to hats to socks. So just whatever's needed. Yeah, preferably not black yarn. Please.
It's very hard on the eyes.
Yeah. This Hieronymus cow, I mean, it was very bipolar. I would get to the gray and I'd do 2 rows with the gray and I'm fine with it. Then I get back to the black and then I'm like, black. And then I get to the gray and I'm happy again. It was all over the place.
They should call it the bipolar. That's funny.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I guess I could have chosen not to do the black in a different color instead, but that basically, if you look up the pattern Hieronymus cow, that's going to pretty closely resemble what you see in the pattern. I wanted it to look the same, so we had the same colors.
Oh, oh, that's great.
Yep.
Yeah, so for a sample, that's good. I really like the edging on that. I don't know if you can see, like how perfect the stripes are. That's just great. I just really like the way that feels. That's just a beautiful yarn. Great.
I'm telling you, Woolfolk.
Great hand. Yeah, because we're going to go out into the shop in a little bit. So, so what is something that your wife knits? What does she like to knit?
She likes to knit sweaters. She's been on kind of a crop top kick lately. She, My Boy Lollipop is one off the top of my head. She's knit a handful of Andrea Mowry patterns. She'll do shawls for the shop. Really though, it's been a lot of sweaters and crop tops lately though.
Well, that's good. I mean, there's a need for that, I guess.
Yeah, I agree though. I'm a little disappointed. I've mentioned this on the podcast before at the gender bias when it comes to crop tops. I mean, I'm thinking I could use a crop top.
That's true. We'll have to see if we can't get someone into Stephen West.
I'm working on a sweater right now. It's very early on, you know, still doing raglan increases, but I keep getting asked, so you gonna turn that into a crop top? I haven't said no.
Oh my gosh. Well, we'll have to see.
Yeah.
We'll have to see. If you can rock it, just you own it. That's your thing.
Yeah, I'm not getting invited to enough pool parties, so I mean, something's got to give.
Wow. Yeah, no, pattern support is pretty basic for guys. Right. And that's another reason why I'm doing this channel, is to try to, if we can get more guys to do it, there's more people, more guys buying yarn, more guys making inquiries at shops that aren't necessarily owned by a guy. And we get more people saying, hey, I need more pattern support, because then those yarn shops are talking to their reps. It's more of a grassroots effort, the way I see this, but it's got to happen because it's a great hobby. You can see, I mean, this is very portable. This technically, because it's a kid's, is very portable. The cowl, the hat, the socks. You can do smaller things that you can keep in your lap, you know, and that helps with heat, as well as you're not bothering your neighbors. You know, you're keeping it to yourself. Right. And so I'm hoping more guys get into this and think of smaller projects, not because they're small, not because the yardage and the yarn is cheaper, but because it's easier, because it's smaller.
Absolutely, that is helpful, and that, again, that's why I enjoy doing socks. Though the one I'm working on right now is a little less portable than my typical sock. Okay, we have a sock machine in the back now, and we've started cranking out these sock tubes. And so I've started doing these Afterthought Everything socks, which is what I'm working on right now. The toe is done. I'm putting in the Afterthought heel here. I've already finished one of them, and I've got it in the bag, I think. Here we go. So yeah, and whereas a normal sock would take me a while, especially because I'm busy at the shop, typically, but this, if I sat down and just worked on it, this is less than a day right here. You just do the toe, cut in, add the heel, cut, do a cuff, done. So,
wow.
Yeah. Yeah, so, and because, you know, I don't have a whole lot of time, and I do like to wear my socks, I think from a practical standpoint, this is pretty good for me. So, yeah.
Very interesting.
And we've also started offering sock tube services at the shop as well, where, you know, you can give us whatever sock yarn you want, pay a fee, and then we'll provide you a sock tube out of your yarn.
That is unique. I don't think anybody's doing that.
Yeah, we just started doing it because we just are starting to get down the sock machine and are comfortable to the point where it's like, okay, we can start producing these for people. So yeah.
Well, you heard it first. So if you need a sock, or a pair of socks. I'm sure it'd be a lot easier for you just to do the heel, the toe, and the cuff. And so if you don't feel ambitious enough to knit a whole sock, then call West 7th Wool and get you a tube.
There we go.
All right. Well, I really want to thank you for inviting me into your shop and for talking to me, because it's been great. And I look forward to seeing you again. And I haven't met Amy, his wife, yet, but I plan on doing that because I'll have to come back. And anyway, thank you very much.
All right. Hey, thank you.
And we'll see you out in the shop.
Bye, guys.
Isn't that great? Oh my gosh, that shop is amazing. And you'll learn more about that shop a little bit later in the My Story section. We'll do a walkthrough with that. I'll air the one that Hunter did. So on that note, let's go to our next section, website.